Chapter 8, Lesson 1, the objective is to find the circumference of circles. There are quite a few vocabulary words that we do have in this lesson. They include circle, center, circumference, diameter, radius, and pi. So what I plan on doing here for a second is to use this circle that is down here to kind of explain what they are. All right. Starting off with a circle, obviously a circle is going to be basically a closed figure that is going to be a set of points that are the same distance from the center of it. The center of it would be located right here. And again, you can see if I measure all the way out, they are going to measure the same distance. So that defines a circle. Center we talked about right here. The circumference is basically your distance around that circle. Very similar to the word perimeter that we would use with squares or rectangles, parallelograms and such. But when we're referring to the outside of a circle, we call that the circumference of that. The diameter of a circle is going to be the line that goes from one end or one point on the outside of the circle through the center of the circle, straight through that to the other side of it. You can draw the diameter anywhere. So for example, I could draw the diameter from here over to here. I could draw it from there through there. Obviously where it is right there, but again, that's called the diameter. The radius of a circle is going to be half of your diameter. All right, so what that means is you're going to take and you would draw a line from your center of your circle to the outside. Okay, and again, that would be half of your diameter, so that is what we refer to as the radius. Okay, last but not least, we're going to be talking about pi. Pi is going to be the value that was created by Greek mathematicians, most commonly known as 3.14. We do have a pi key on our calculator that you can use as well. But again, 3.14 in terms of a number is generally referred to as 3.14. So what we're going to be looking at the first part of this lesson is identifying and understanding what the radius and the diameter are on a circle. It's really critical that we read carefully and understand what they are asking us to find, okay? So when I think about this, for example, I think visually it kind of helps when I look at it to help me understand this. Symbols-wise, when you see this, you can see D equals 2R. The D here stands for diameter. The R stands for radius. So what this is saying is if I would take my radius and times it by 2, that would give me my diameter. Another way to think of it is if I wanted to get my radius, I could take the diameter and divide it by 2, also commonly known as take your diameter and divide it by 2, and you would get your radius. Looking at this first example, if I have a diameter of 14, what would my radius be? Well, I'm asking myself what's 14 divided by 2, or 1/2 of 14, and I know that I would get 7. Example 2, if I'm looking at the radius, so they're giving me the radius of a circle, and I need to figure out the diameter, or what that would be all the way across, then I know this from the center to here is 8, which means the center to here would be 8. So 8 plus 8 gives me 16, or 8 times 2 is 16. So what you can do at this time is pause your video and go ahead and complete Got It problems A, B, C, and D. You're going to notice that you're finding the radius or the diameter. Taking a look at your answers for Got It problems, letter A, they gave you the diameter as being 23 centimeters. My goal is to find the radius then, so I should be thinking 23 divided by 2. And you can see over here I have the answers displayed for you on the left-hand side. 23 divided by 2 would be 11 1/2, or 11.5. Looking at letter B, they gave you the radius, so therefore I'm thinking what's the diameter? Radius is half of the diameter, so I'm thinking 3 times 2. 3 times 2 gives me 6, so the diameter is going to be 6 inches. Got it problem letter C, the diameter is 16, so the radius is half of that. 16 divided by 2 is 8, so the radius would be 8 yards. And last but not least, got it problem D, the radius is 5.2, therefore I'm trying to find the diameter, so 5.2 times 2 would give me 10.4. I do not know the label on that one for the units, so we could just call that one units because it doesn't give us a specific measurement. Now, knowing what we know here in terms of understanding radius and diameter, we're going to go ahead and move into how do we actually find the circumference of a circle then. So on the top, you can see here, they give us our circumference formulas. There's 2 of them that you can use. The first one is C equals pi times D. So let me explain this. C stands for circumference. Circumference is going to be equal to pi times diameter. Or we can think of it in terms of circumference equaling 2 times pi times radius. Again, if we take our radius times 2, that gives us the diameter, which takes the place of that. You can see the model over here, which does explain where your radius is and your diameter, which is what we just got done doing. Okay, different values that we use for pi. You're going to notice here's the symbol for pi. If you have a calculator with you or near you, or when you do have one, you can go ahead and look at your calculator and see if you can find that pi symbol there. If you just click that button, then you would see on your calculator it would come up as a 3.1415926, noticing that it never stops. In your book, sometimes they want us to use pi, which would be the pi key on your calculator. Sometimes they just want you to use 3.14, and sometimes they will ask you to use 22 over 7. 22 over 7 is the fractional approximation for pi. Generally, if we're working with numbers or multiples of 7, this tends to be an easy one to use. So looking at example 3, they're asking you to find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 21. Generally speaking, you can think of circumference as being pi times diameter or 2 times pi times r. Because 21 is a multiple of 7, they're using 22 over 7 in this case. All right. You could also use 3.14. You could use your pi key. Again, if they tell you specifically to use one, you need to do that. Other than that, it's open. So you can see they're taking 2 times pi times your radius. So they've plugged in 22 over 7, their fractional key. Again, you can use the A over B key on your calculator, or if you wanted to, you could just take 22 divided by 7, times it by 2 times 21. And when we do that, you're going to notice that they have used cross-reducing here before they actually plugged it in their calculator. That's fine to do that, or again, if you want to plug in your calculator, not a problem. So the approximation for your circumference in this case should be about 132 inches for the circumference or the outside around this circle. Here are 2 got it problems for you to try, so go ahead and pause this video and complete these 2. Got it problems E and F, you're finding the circumference of each of these circles. They are asking us to use 22 over 7 for pi. So as I think about this, okay, on the first one, letter E, I have 70 inches. You're going to notice that that's your diameter. So because that's my diameter, I'm going to use C equals pi times diameter. So I'm thinking C is going to equal my pi times diameter. Again, in this case, they want me to use 22 over 7 for pi, so I'm thinking C equals 22 over 7 times 70. So when I work through this one of the things that comes to mind is I know that 7 goes into 70, so 7 divided by 7 is 1, 70 divided by 7 is 10. So therefore I can multiply my numerators, so 22 times 10 should give me 220 inches. This is not area or volume, it's just circumference, so we're not squaring it, we're not cubing it, we're leaving it as is. As I take a look at letter F, they've given me the radius, so I'm thinking circumference is going to be equal to 2 times pi times radius. So I'm thinking circumference is equal to 2. Again, they want me to use 22 over 7, so I'm taking 2 times 22 over 7. And then I'm going to multiply that times my radius, which is 7/8. So from here, I can go ahead and work with my fractions and cross-reduce. I'm looking at both 7s here, so I know I can divide both of those by 7, and I'm going to get a 1 on each of those. I'm also looking at 22 and 8. I know that 2 goes into both 22 and 8, so I'm going to take 8 divided by 2 and get 4. I'm going to take 22 divided by 2, and I'm going to get 11. So when I think about this, then I'm going to look at my numerators. I've got 2 times 11 times 1. 2 times 11 is 22. And then on the bottom, I have 1 times 4, which gives me 4. So my circumference is going to be equal to 22 over 4, or when we change this from an improper fraction to a mixed number, I know that 4 goes into 22 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So 22 minus 20 leaves me with 2, which would be the same as 2/4. Or, again, I can reduce that down to 5 and 1/2 and I look at my label, I know it's being measured in feet, so you can see the answer is 5 1/2 feet. So those are two examples of finding circumference of circles. Last but not least, if we look at the last example that they have given us on the top of 616, or if you're following along and you're just on the ebook here, you can see they give us a got it problem that says a circular fence is being placed to surround a tree. The diameter of the fence is 4 feet. How much fencing is used? This situation, they want us to use 3.14 for pi, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So again, we're looking at the circumference of the fence that is going to be around the tree. Please go ahead and pause your video and work on this problem. In this case, as we look at it, again, because we're talking about circumference, I'm going to be thinking C is going to be equal to, they're giving me the diameter, so I'm thinking pi times d. So I'm going to think C equals, they told me they would like me to use 3.14 for pi, so I'm going to type in 3.14. My diameter in this case is 4, so I'm plugging in 4 for the diameter. When I go ahead and multiply that then, 3.14 times 4, and we should get approximately 12.6 feet. You can go ahead and take a look at the practice problems that I have in this PowerPoint and check your answers when you are finished.